Media.
You know, if you're not improving your process, if you're not tweaking the system as you go, you can't make progress, right? You can't continue to do the same thing over and over again and expect to make progress. Hi, my name is Ronnie Cruz. After almost 2 decades as a career network marketer, I realized that despite continual work on my personal and professional development, that I had hit a massive brick wall. So I took a deep and honest look at myself, top to bottom, hoping to find answers. And my search led me to one conclusion. The definitions I held of my business, of my world, of my life were the very things holding me back. If I wanted to change, if I wanted to grow beyond my current circumstances, I had to wipe the slate clean and redefine. This show is dedicated to helping you identify the belief systems, the mindsets, the very definitions that have held you back, and then help you break through those limitations to finally create the life you've been working so hard to achieve. Welcome to the Redefine Podcast. Okay, happy podcast day. Happy podcast day to you. Welcome to the show if you're brand new. And of course, if you are an existing listener and or viewer, welcome back. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. All right. So today the topic is to quit or not to quit. That is the question. I have recently been considering and having this internal debate as to whether or not I will continue this podcast. Now, I haven't made a decision yet. I'm still weighing out my options. But in doing so, I realize I have a pretty good framework when it comes to making decisions like this, when it comes to being at a crossroads and deciding whether or not to continue doing something or to quit it. And so I thought I'd share this framework with you because, I mean, it's such a common thing, right? We all go through this multiple times in our lives and, you know, in many different contexts. So hopefully this framework can help you when you're faced with such a decision. Now, the framework is a series of questions, one question leading to the next, and hopefully along the way will give you some insights as to why you're in the position that you're in and why you're feeling that way. The first question being, of course, is why do I want to quit, right? Why do you want to quit the thing that you're currently doing? The most common answer that people have for this, and this applies to entrepreneurism, this applies to content creation, this applies to marketing and sales, this applies to health and fitness, right? Especially, you know, in a fitness regimen. If you're starting a new fitness regimen, if you're not seeing results, it can be very, very discouraging. And so it's easy to feel like quitting. Right. So what I want you to understand when you're in this situation, if you feel like you're not getting anywhere, it may not necessarily be the viability of the thing that you're doing. Right. It may not be necessarily be and often isn't because of the viability of your specific strategy or whatever the vehicle is that you're employing. It's probably the viability of your execution. Right, of your execution. And this is not to speak of your effort. If you're putting in good effort, great. But the execution that I'm talking about is in the adjustments that you're making along the way, right? How much time and effort are you devoting to improving your process, right? Because, you know, if you're not improving your process, if you're not tweaking the system as you go, you can't make progress, right? You can't continue to do the same thing over and over again and expect to make progress. So yeah, really take a look at that. If you haven't made any changes to what you're doing, if you haven't looked at how you can improve your process and improve your system, then that's probably the primary culprit as to why you're not making any progress, especially if you're still putting in your maximum effort. Now, if you're not putting in maximum effort and you find yourself kind of just half-assing it and going through the motions, then it's likely not the viability of the specific strategy or vehicle that you're employing. The most common cause of people not putting in maximum effort that I've seen over the years is that they just lost purpose, right? They don't see the purpose anymore in what they're doing. So if you find yourself in the situation, if you find yourself feeling like you haven't made any progress, and if you find yourself feeling like you don't see the purpose anymore, then I want you to ask this question. What were you trying to achieve in the first place? Right? What was the thing what was the end goal? What was the vision that you were trying to attain? What was the destination that you were trying to arrive at? If you have no goal, if you have no destination, then there is no purpose. Even if that goal is to just be fulfilled and happy in the moment, that's something that you have to identify, because again, then there is no purpose for doing what it is that you're doing. The next question then, once you've identified that, is ask yourself, do you still want to achieve that thing? Now, this might seem like a really simple yes or no, but I really want you to sit with this one and take your time, because you have to consider and weigh out all the things that you may have to do in order to achieve the thing that you want to achieve, and whether or not you're willing to do those things. Obviously, if the answer is no, then you can quit and move on. If the answer is yes, then you have to consider whether or not that particular vehicle or strategy or avenue that you're pursuing to get to your goal is actually something that aligns with you, with your sensibilities, with who you are, with where you want to be. Understand that there are many paths that can lead to where you want to get to, and not all of them are right for you. For example, if your big vision is to become financially free and walk away, retire from your 9 to 5, obviously there are countless ways to achieve that. And so you have to find the path that suits you the best, that aligns with who you are and who you want to be. Finding a path that aligns with who you are, a path that is right for you, will actually make the journey smoother. So if you're out of alignment with your current path or strategy or vehicle, then maybe it's time to change vehicles. And that's kind of where I am with this podcast. I originally started this podcast with the vision of using it to help grow my business and expand my reach and potentially move into, the coaching space. However, that's really changed. I'm not super focused on growing my business anymore. I'm focused on other things. And as a result, this particular show, this podcast, has shifted away from marketing and online marketing and all that stuff, and has kind of become more of a mindset podcast and a personal development podcast, which is okay. Like, I love all that stuff. However, again, what's the purpose, right? What's the purpose? Especially since I do have another podcast that focuses on personal development at Path of the Jedi. So yeah, it's still kind of in a limbo and still, undecided as to where I'm going to go with this and what I'm going to do with this podcast. However, I do have a framework that I'm working through, and hopefully this framework can help you as well. If you're facing, a crossroads right now with something that you're pursuing and you just don't know whether or not you want to continue pursuing it, go through this framework, go through this exercise, and see where you come out at the end of it. And maybe you'll have a clearer decision. So let me know if it helps. You can leave a comment in the comment section of the YouTube version, or you can click that send a text link on the podcast version. Beyond that, have a great rest of your day. Have a great rest of your week. We'll catch you next week with a fresh new one. So until then, be well, be safe. We'll see you in the next episode.